Greetings from the Cruise Ship National Center of Expertise in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is episode 1 of the Cruise Ship Round Turn. I'm Jason Kling, and joining me today is Brad Schoenwald. Brad, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Amazing, great day.
Sounds like the words I normally use. Fantastic, amazing, outstanding. So we talk about cruise ships a lot, and usually in the safety or compliance realm. But what about cruise ship as an actual vacation destination? Is that something that you or your family get into?
You know, going on a cruise is not something that I would plan or think that I would want to do. But yes, we have done it, and it's been quite enjoyable, actually.
I like the ease of lodging and dining options kind of in one place and going to see multiple destinations. So it's convenient.
It's convenient, and all things considered, it's incredibly affordable. It's really hard to find something that provides you all it does, given the amount of money you have to spend to do it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great way to do things.
There is value and there's usually a variety of entertainment. No matter what you like to do, you can see all kinds of it on a ship there. Okay, so let's move into the content. Brad, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about fixed water spraying and water mist fire extinguishing systems.
Great. So as usual, first we'll lay out the statutory requirements and then we'll discuss it. So for on a passenger ship, SOLAS Chapter 2 Regulation 10 requires fixed fire extinguishing system that meets the FSS code in Category A machinery spaces and a water spraying system in control stations, accommodation spaces, and service spaces. Additionally, there are requirements for a fixed local application system at the ship's engines, boilers, incinerators, and fuel purifiers. Brad, these are requirements for fixed water spraying systems on passenger ships. What kind of arrangements do we typically see during our exams?
On board, we're going to find water spraying or sprinkler systems and water mist systems.
Okay, first let's talk about the wet pipe systems that we see in the accommodation and service spaces. Teams 2 and 3 normally examine these areas. So, what parts of the system do these examiners check?
When walking, teams 2 and 3 will visually spot check the nozzles and look for corrosion, damaged nozzles, missing or low fluid in the glass bulbs. The teams will also observe the test of the system section valves. Water mist section valves will be open to create flow and verify the flow alarm signals. These systems typically sit at 20 to 25 bar static pressure, and when the pump auto starts, the pressure will rise to about 120 to 135 bar. The teams are expected to test 2 to 3 section valves per main vertical zone. The section valve testing also includes the movement of the blocking valve to verify the alarm signals to prevent unauthorized use. The water spraying or sprinkler section valve testing is similar to the water mist testing with one exception. We expect the crew to test the blocking valve and the flow alarm, but we don't need to see the sprinkler pump auto start from the section valve. SOLAS requires a test valve be positioned near the sprinkler pump, and auto starting the sprinkler pump from the section valve may hydroshock the system, causing damage. These systems usually sit at about 8 bar static and rise to about 15 to 20 bar when the main sprinkler pump is activated.
Thank you, Brad, for explaining what the port stick control officers on those accommodation decks will look at. Now let's talk about the fixed local application systems, which are configured as dry pipe systems. Team 4 normally examines this part of the system in addition to checking the pumps in the engine room. What is the difference between wet and dry, and what does the Team 4 examiner check?
Well, there's a variety of dry systems. As you already mentioned, in passenger ships, machinery spaces of Category A above 500 cubic meters shall have a fixed local application. We require this system be fully tested during the annual exam. The ship is allowed to select a location for the water to be deployed and the system activated locally, remotely, or by automation. We'll then test the remaining activation methods in other local application spaces, but we're going to allow the ship to close the blocking valve and divert the water from entering the space. The other dry systems are found in paint lockers, deep fat fryer, Category 1 control stations with pre-action valves, and dual category 4/8 spaces with fire curtains, usually there to protect the escape routes. So here's some examples of dry system heads. You'll note there's no glass bulb, therefore, as soon as water's fed to this nozzle, water's going to come out. It doesn't have the glass bulb there to hold the plunger back. This is a dual nozzle. It has a dry inlet and a wet inlet. Therefore, if the glass bulb breaks, water's going to come. But if the fire is detected prior to heat rising to break the glass bulb, you can remotely activate this nozzle.
That's a great overview of how we check the systems, and we are going to observe some water flow during our exams. And sometimes it surprises some of our officers who have never seen it before. It really comes out at quite a high pressure. Initially, that standby pressure will come out and rain a little bit. And once that pumping system comes on automatically, it really sends a lot of water out there. And you'll get to see it and feel it. It'll move the air in the space. So it's really a fascinating test to observe. So here's one question I've been asked when I visit field units is sometimes they see the section valves locked behind cages, behind a cabinet door in passenger areas with a square key, or out in the open. Are they required to be locked?
No, not at all. They only must have a means to prevent the unauthorized use, and the alarm that triggers when moving the blocking valve from the fully open position fulfills that requirement. Oftentimes, the cabinet or the cage around the valve is an owner requirement that the cruise line decides to put there just to help further protect it, but it's not required.
All right, sounds pretty straightforward. Thank you, Brad. That concludes today's episode. This is something that our team is going to be doing to providing some just-in-time training for all of our listeners out there, our port stick control officers. This episode is pre-recorded. It's not live streamed. So listeners can send in questions or feedback to us at our email, csncoe@uscg.mil, and we can answer those questions in a future episode. If you're listening to the audio version of this, there is some video content. Brad did show some nozzles, and we do have some video content that you may see if you wanted to look at it again. So be safe out there in the water. Cheers from sunny South Florida.